This is episode 13, Not This.
Welcome to the Quarter Life Comeback Podcast, the show that empowers you to become the hero of your life's journey. With your host, Brian Tier.
Hey boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the Quarter Life Comeback Podcast, episode 13. And today, it's just you and me. I've got another short little solo episode for you. And, not to disappoint, but no guest this week. I decided to do this post because I came across this little piece of content a couple of weeks ago, and I just thought it would be cool to share it here too for the people that, don't follow me elsewhere but love the podcast. And on that note, before I get into the show itself, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's left a rating or review on the show. It means a lot to me. It means a lot for the show, but it really inspires me and keeps me going. I've had emails and podcast iTunes reviews from all around the world, and I can't tell you how much that means to me, and it makes me kind of realize that I'm doing something right here, and I want to wake up every day and keep doing this for you guys. So on to this week's show. Now, if you follow me on on my Facebook page, you would have seen a post I shared by author Elizabeth Gilbert. And if you're not familiar with Elizabeth, she is the famous author of the books Eat, Pray, Love and Big Magic. And in this post, which she shared on her Facebook page with her followers and fans, it's called Not This. She shares an inspirational message with her followers about the importance of recognizing and owning the fact that, where you are right now might not be where you want to be, even if you have no idea of where that place actually is. And this could be in our careers, our relationships, our neighborhood, our beliefs, our behaviors, anything at all. But sometimes we strive and try so hard to figure out everything and to have everything planned out. And often it's easy to forget that, where we are, it's not this. And I think it's easy to look for articles, and I've even written some myself on how to find your purpose. But sometimes we forget that, another way of looking at things is to realize that what we have isn't what we want. And I think it's a fine line between being ungrateful and looking to improve. But, that's a conversation for a whole nother episode. I just thought I'd share this post with you guys. And, she tells stories of friends who have taken action and moved away from their not this situations without having a plan B, which I obviously can relate to pretty closely. And she explains why most of us never do this and the consequences of not doing so. Now, if you need a reminder that your current situation is, sorry to say it, your own doing, or you're feeling a little too safe for your own liking, then I think this episode will help you to realize that your journey is in your own hands, and it's never too late to make a change, to admit, it's not this, and to look for a way forward. All right, so let's get to the post. Most of us, at some point in our lives, unless we have done everything perfectly, which is nobody, will have to face a terrible moment in which we realize that we've somehow ended up in the wrong place, or at least in a very bad place. Maybe you'll have to admit that you're in the wrong job, or the wrong relationship, with the wrong people around us, living in the wrong neighborhood, acting out on the wrong behaviors, using the wrong substances, pretending to believe things that we no longer believe, pretending to be someone we were never meant to be. This moment of realization is seldom fun. In fact, it's usually terrifying. I call this moment of realization not this. Because that's all you know at such a moment. All you know is not this. Sometimes that's all you can know. All you know is that some deep life force within you is saying, not this, and it won't be silenced. Your body is saying, not this. Your heart is saying, not this. Your soul is saying, not this. But your brain can't bring itself to say, not this, because that would cause a serious problem. The problem is you don't have a plan B in place. This is the only life you have. This is the only job you have, the only spouse you have. This is the only house you have. Your brain says, it may not be great, but we have to put up with it because there are no other options. You're not sure how you got here to this place of this, but you're sure as hell don't know how to get out. So your brain says, we need to keep putting up with this because this is all we have. But still, beating like a quiet drum, your body and your heart and your soul keep saying, not this, not this, not this. I think some of the bravest people I've ever met were people who had the courage to say the words, not this, out loud, even before they had an alternative plan. People who walked out of bad situations without knowing if there was a better situation on the horizon. People who looked at the life they were in and they said, I don't know what my life is supposed to be, but it's not this. And then they just left. I think of my friend who walked out of a marriage after less than a year and had to move back in with her mother, back into her childhood bedroom, and face the condemnation of the entire community while she slowly created a new life for herself. Everyone said, if he's not good enough for you, who will be? She didn't know. She didn't know anything about what her life would look like now, but it started with her saying, not this. I think of my friend who took her 3 young children away from a toxic marriage, despite that fact that her husband had supported her and the kids financially. And the 4 of them, the woman and her 3 children, all slept in one bed together in a tiny studio apartment for a few years, while she struggled to build a new life. She was poor, she was scared, she was alone. But she had to listen to the voices within her that said, not this. I think of friends who have walked out of jobs with no job waiting for them because they said, not this. I think of friends who quit school rather than keep pretending that they cared about the field of study anymore. And yes, they lost the scholarship. And yes, they ended up working at a fast food restaurant while everyone else was getting degrees. And yes, it took them a while to figure out where to go next. But there was a relief at last in just surrendering to the holy, non-negotiable truth of not this. I think of friends who have bravely walked into AA meetings and just fell apart in front of a room full of strangers and said, not this. I think of a friend who pulled her children out of Sunday school in the middle of church one Sunday because she'd had it with the judgment and self-righteousness of this particular church. Yes, it was her community. Yes, it was her tribe. But she physically couldn't be in that building anymore without feeling that she would explode. She didn't know where she was going, spiritually or within her community, but she said, not this, and walked out. Rationally, it's crazy to abandon a perfectly good life, or at least a familiar life, in order to jump into a mystery. No sane person would advise you to make such a leap with no plan B in place. We are supposed to be careful. We are supposed to be prudent. And yet, if you keep ignoring the voices within you that say, not this, just because you don't know what to do, instead you may end up stuck in this not this forever. You don't need to know where you are going to admit that where you are standing right now is wrong. The bravest thing to say can be these 2 words, not this. What comes next? I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. It might be worse, it might be better, but whatever it is, it's not this. All right, guys, so as I said, this is a shorter episode than usual, but I just felt that post really resonated with me and I felt like sharing it on the show. I'd love to hear what you thought about this episode and this type of content, A, the solo format, and B, reading posts that I come across that could resonate and, sort of are a good fit for you guys out there listening. If you like this episode, make sure you share it around with your friends and tweet me at Brian Tier. Let me know your biggest takeaways. And if you guys want to receive all the latest episodes of the podcast, you can subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or TuneIn or Pocket Cast. I've got a whole lot of new podcast apps that you guys can listen on. You can find that all in the show notes, which for this episode will be at briantier.com/013. That's briantier.com/013. Hope you guys dig it. Keep taking action and create your quarter life comeback.
Thanks for listening to the Quarter Life Comeback. Get started today by visiting briantier.com.